All right. Hello, welcome. I am here with Andrea Askowitz today, and we're going to talk about what I feel is a very important project, and I really would like a lot of people to know about it and get to know about it. I'm just going to remind anybody watching this, any of my friends, anybody who is becoming acquainted with the Library, just want to remind you that anytime you spend listening to these conversations and even thinking about these conversations, you can redeem the credit at the Karmic Margin Call Project Time Bank. So I wanted to just kind of put that out there. Anyone who's interested in using that, just please let me know. So, Andrea, you and I had a
Wait, I have a
wonderful.
question.
Sure, go for it.
Wait, can you hear me okay?
Hmm.
How do you use the time bank?
Hmm. Very good. All you have to do is be a member of the site, and what you do is you just log in and you say you want to report hours. And for anybody watching the Living Library, it's usually under workshops and presentations, and they can claim an hour for themselves, which they can use later on to redeem, a service or even a conversation with somebody who is in the network. So thank you for asking. So we do have a website. You can apply at karmicmargincall.com, and there is a link that takes you to the application page, and just fill out the application. And I usually kind of approve those within 2 to 3 days. So thank you for asking.
It's a very cool concept to get to redeem your hour for something.
Yeah,
But maybe we can
absolutely.
make this faster than an hour.
Yeah, no, we'll see. That's the thing when we're in these conversations, when we're listening to understand, instead of listening to interject or to debate, the time goes by quickly. We call that Kairos time, as opposed to Chronos time, where you're always watching the clock. You feel like somebody is lording over you, but in Kairos time, you're just honoring the natural flow of the relationship. So. So it's very much about reciprocity instead of transactional. Yeah,
Where does that word come from? Greece?
Kairos,
Yeah.
it's Greek. Yep,
Okay.
yep, it's Greek, which means living. Kind of a living time. So that's why we speak in terms of living library, and there's also what one of my colleagues in my ministry group calls kairotic flow, where we're going with the current of the natural life cycles rather than trying to kind of manipulate or kind of steer in a direction of a hierarchy. It's more about just honoring the natural flow of life.
What else can we do?
Yeah,
It's like, you know, time
absolutely,
goes on. I
absolutely.
love I love your concept of a living library. It's
Mhm.
like you can check out a conversation with a real
Yeah,
person. It's very
exactly.
cool.
Exactly. And you are today's book. So this is kind of how these conversations work. Sometimes they go back and forth where both sides do as much talking and listening. So I'm here today to help others understand and to lean into your vision for this story that you're creating about both sides of the story, which I think is very important. So let's start there today, Andrea. So tell me about how is that going? Tell us about both sides of the story. Is that what it's called?
It's called All Sides of the Story.
All sides of the
And
story. Great.
and the concept is it's a storytelling show. So it's
Hmm.
a live show where eight people, maybe six, but probably eight people from all sides of the political spectrum will tell a personal story.
Hmm.
And the show that I'm trying to curate right now, in my mind, is called Red, Gray, and Blue. So the
Yeah.
series is called All Sides of the Story, and it
Right.
can be about any issue. But Red, Gray, and Blue is about what. So the question I've asked people to submit a story for, and thank you for submitting a story. That's
Hmm.
how we found out about
That's
each
how
other.
we connected. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is what situation or what series of events created who you are politically?
Hmm.
But I really am after what personal situation.
Hmm.
So if you're, let me just give a few examples. So if you're, one story that this man that I love, Derek Cook, he told a story in a show that I curated, that I produced. It was called Our Abortion Stories.
Hmm.
And his story was about his wife's miscarriage at 16 weeks here in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And when the miscarriage happened, she was already past the 15-week deadline for a legal abortion.
Hmm.
And the
Hmm.
procedure that is used to like the medical procedure that must be used is the same as an abortion when there's a miscarriage and there's no potential for fetal life.
Hmm.
But because she was past the 15 weeks, she was sent home.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then she delivered the fetus in a bathroom. So
Wow.
Derek tells the story of his wife. Miraculously, she lived.
Hmm.
And also miraculously, they ended up having a child sometime later.
Hmm.
So, but that type of story, I mean, I am guessing. I have not actually talked to Derek about this, but I'm
Hmm.
almost sure that that moment, that situation, that experience has shaped him politically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the type of story I want. I don't want a story about, I don't want a political diatribe or a rant. I just want
Hmm.
people so I want the story, and I haven't found the story yet. I'm looking for a story by a Cuban because
Hmm.
I'm in Miami. Doesn't have to be a Cuban, but I'm looking for the Cuban story where
Yes. Hmm.
the the family lost everything to to communism, to Castro, and moved to the United States and had to start over. And I want to understand that person's fear of government and
Hmm.
fear of anything that sounds like socialism. So, and that's what I know people in Miami or Cubans in Miami experience when they think of Democrats or democratic politics.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I want to know what pain, like what did they go through
Hmm.
and how deep does it go? Because I know it goes deep.
Hmm.
The conviction to be like anti-democratic politics.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
want that story, and I know that there's a million stories out there that tell that would tell the audience what what they're going through, what they've been through. And I'm not trying to change people's minds, although that would be nice. But what
Hmm.
I'm really trying to do is get people in the room and the people on the stage to not hate each other,
Yes.
at least for the night.
Yes.
And there's something, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
you're,
no, what I really wanted to explore, and this is something that you articulated in our phone call, is that when you know somebody's story, when you know somebody's personal story, it's very difficult to dislike them, or it's very difficult to to when you know what is, I like to say, what is the root cause, or what is the lived experience that
Mhm.
informs whatever it is, your political ideology or your look on life. It's very difficult to kind of get in an argument, because you're not listening to interject, you're listening to understand. So I think that's a very important theme, that you're exploring here, is that when we take the time to really listen to somebody's story, um, it sets up the potential more for conversation rather than arguing or debate.
Well, it does. It sets up the tone for conversation.
Hmm.
Right. Like I don't think anyone would go up to Derek Cook after he tells that story and is very vulnerable and looks hard at himself. I mean, he talks about this in the story. He talks about how he hadn't even thought about abortion at all. It
Hmm.
wasn't something he cared about. And I
Yeah.
feel like that makes him very real and very vulnerable in that all of a sudden, like, wait, he was like thrust into a situation that made him see politics differently. But I
Yeah.
don't think anyone would come up to him afterward, even the most ardent, um, you know, anti-choice person. I don't think anyone would say, I disagree with what happened to you. No, because they would have understood this very specific situation. I
Yeah.
want to flip it and tell you another story about a Holocaust survivor that
Hmm.
I interviewed.
Go
So I
for it.
was so I was asked, and the other thing I wanted to say before I tell you about my Holocaust survivor
Hmm. Hmm.
is what stories do is I used to think that stories could change the world, and now I'm
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
maybe not. But I do know
I
that
want
with
to
the
ask about that in a little bit too. What
yeah,
changed? Yeah, but go ahead. Please
okay,
continue with
yeah.
your
But
story.
what
Yeah.
I do think stories do is they open up our hearts as writers of the story
Hmm.
and our hearts as witnesses of the story, either in writing or in person. So I'm talking about out loud storytelling. So, I mean, for years, for 9 years, 4 times a year, I produced a storytelling show called Lip Service, where
Hmm.
I had 8 people tell a story one at a time. It wasn't on
Hmm.
political, nothing political. I mean, everything political, but there wasn't a political theme each time. It was just personal stories. And and I'm telling you, people fell in love in that audience. Like
Hmm.
for real, two different couples got married after meeting at the show. Like it
Wow.
opens, stories open your heart. And the other thing that I think stories do when you're writing your story, and this is what I'm committed to as an editor and as the curator and producer and director of this show,
Hmm.
I want every single person who's writing a story and telling a story at the show to turn the camera around. Like, okay, so I'm in this situation. And the way that Derek Cook did it slightly is that he turned it around and he was like, wait, I was never like I was just like a dude. I wasn't
Hmm.
thinking about politics. I was just living my life. And you know what?
Yeah.
I need to get involved. I need to like step up as a person. So, but I think that people can do it in even a bigger way and do what that I mean is like look at yourself. How am I? What is my role in this
Hmm.
situation? How am I not just implicated, but what responsibility can I take in any situation? And one of the things that I think stories do is they show us that we are also assholes.
Hmm. Yeah.
Did you take that leap with me? Like, did I? Okay, did you get
That's
it?
that's where accountability, self
Yeah,
accountability
yeah.
begins. Yes. Hmm.
Like, what stupid thing did I do?
Hmm.
Or how ignorant was I before this situation happened? Like,
Yes.
whatever it is. And if each person on stage can do that, then if everybody in the, that's like, this is how I feel like writing could save the world. If
Hmm.
everyone if everyone wrote down what they were going through and asked themselves that question, what's my responsibility? What did I do?
Yes.
Like, no more rants. No. What kind of jerk am I half the time?
Yeah.
And I love using myself to show like what a jerk I am because because I'm just using myself as an example of everyone else. I just think we're all the same. And
Yeah.
that's why, I mean, I am crazy upset with what's happening in politics.
Of course. Yeah.
I cannot look at Donald Trump and not have a gag reflex. Honestly,
Hmm.
the guy is disgusting to me. But I have done everything can. I keep doing it every single day. I'm like, well, what might someone else be thinking? Why would someone else be okay with I don't know. I was just listening to how he called Texas and was like, "Hey, let's gerrymander mid decade." So like in
Hmm.
every 10 years gerrymandering is something that happens
Sure.
politically.
Oh
But
yeah.
now
Hmm.
Trump is like, "Let's get it to happen right now because I
Yeah.
want more Republicans to win in Texas." Like
Mhm.
what kind of asshole move is that? That is just ugly.
Yeah.
But so I've been thinking, well, I'm sure that the Democrats have done it too. Maybe not
Hmm.
overtly. Maybe they do it under the radar. Maybe, like I'm sure they've done it. We're all jerks.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So,
funny. I want to interject something here as well too. Yes, and the Democrats are very much playing that game as well too. I was in a play. I think it was about 15 years ago now. The play was called Farragut North, and it really gives you a really an insider look at how politics are played and how even Democrats throw each other under the bus. And yeah, I wanted to just kind of interject that there. But
Is that
yeah,
a subway stop in DC?
it is a subway stop, and yeah, it's funny. My cousin, when I was talking about being in the play in social media, my cousin reached out and said, "Hey, I live near that
Fair.
near that station." And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, very very cool. Yeah, but yeah, it really it is based on truth, and yeah, that for me, playing being the press secretary for a presidential candidate, and having to learn, basically being on stage the whole time for 2 hours, and having to say I think I counted, I had to say the F bomb about 150 times during during that play. It really gave me kind of like a really like an insider look at, oh yeah, this is how it's really played, and it's very toxic. And
So what are you saying? Just by saying fuck, 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 you started to feel what? Like I don't. What
Mhm.
do you say? What do you mean?
Yeah, just how yeah, just how, for me, what it made me look at it, made, and like you said, admitting to ourselves how we are the assholes, and really looking at ourselves, through a very unbiased mirror. I was able to kind of see some of my own narcissism, and my own, kind of like my own, the way that I kind of think of myself as being the center of my universe, and not so much how I looked at other people, and from through the eyes of this character, you know, it really just seemed like other people were just there to you know, elevate your ego. And
Well, are you talking about that character that you were playing, or
yeah,
you
well,
yourself? It
it
was
made me
both.
look at myself. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and the theme of narcissism and even sociopathy have been, kind of really been at the center of my world since, really since being more involved in spiritual communities and being involved with the ministry as well too, where, you really have to look at, if we really want to, believe in, in a higher power, or in, in a spiritual existence. It really calls you to question, yeah, you're special, but so is everybody. And how do you start to see it through, through the eyes of, of that, everything has its place, everything is, everything has its, has its value and potential.
Well,
Mhm,
I just said fuck three times, and now I'm about to say that I'm not sure I believe in God,
mhm,
but
yeah,
I will say that I want to bring this back to all sides of the story, that we
mhm,
only know, like we only have our own point of view.
mhm,
Like
yeah,
we're limited as people. We only know what we can experience or what we have experienced, or that's all we know.
yeah,
And so it's no fault of our own that we are self-centered,
mhm,
that we are limited. Like, you know what I mean? Like we don't have chips in other people's brains, though I wish I could do that, put a chip in my wife's brain and like know what she's thinking.
mhm,
But we can't. And that's
right,
why I think that's all the more reason why something like All Sides of the Story, where we sit quietly and listen to someone else's side or someone else's story from a different side.
yeah,
It's the same type of story, every personal story.
mhm,
What have
yeah.
you been through? So that we can just understand. I know, and I was going to tell you about the Holocaust survivor, but I don't
Yep.
need to. You want me to?
We'll segue into that. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. And I also want to also add in here too as well, is that, there is a lot of narcissism as well in spirituality, in religion. Like what you had told the story about, your friend going through, this abortion. He was not political until something like that happened.
Mhm.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating to me how religious doctrine or religious dogma enters into the conversation as well too, when it comes to, very personal experiences, like abortion, and like, like some of those, those hot button issues. So again, listening to understand rather than listening to interject or to, just to force your experience over someone else's. And that's where I think this project that you're doing is essential. So
Well,
please.
again, I feel
Mhm,
like everybody wants to force their experience on others. I
mhm,
mean, everybody thinks that they are themselves logical and that they are themselves right and good. No one thinks Hitler didn't think he was a bad guy.
right.
I don't think. Maybe he did. Maybe he knew. Maybe some people know. And I also want to say that I do think that there are degrees of like assholeness. And I do think that Trump has pushed it beyond. Just right now, he's the one who's pushed it beyond anyone else so far. But
Mhm,
I don't think that just because of the politics that he holds makes him that asshole. He's just well, what I'm saying is, I feel like the other side, if pushed, also could go that far to the extreme
oh yeah,
of just doing bad shit
yeah.
and just disregarding the rules. And so right now, what's happening is I am fearful of democracy holding
Mhm,
on.
sure,
Just,
sure,
but my
yeah.
point is that I think that that
Mhm,
he's on the right, or
mhm,
he wasn't though. I mean, 20 years ago when he was a pro-choice Democrat. But anyway, so
mhm,
now, but the left is potentially could go that far too. I mean,
mhm.
we've seen it in other countries. Left and right, what does that mean? It
Yeah,
just
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, my understanding is, Stalin killed more people than Hitler, and that being, kind of like that left position as well too. I mean, it's the kind of thing where anything taken to the extreme,
Right. Right.
really, yeah,
Well,
really
I
does.
love socialism because I lived in
Mhm.
Madrid with my kids for almost a year.
Okay, very
and
good.
and I
Mhm,
was like, my son was sick, and I called. I think it was like I can't even remember how inexpensive the private healthcare was that I bought to
mhm,
live there. It was like €1,000 for the year. And I called the hospital. No, I called the number, and they gave me a choice. A doctor can come to my house, or I could just go to the hospital that was like 3 blocks away. But my son was really sick, so I was like, I'll take an in-house doctor. And this like adorable guy came with his like medicine bag, and he treated my son, and it was free.
mhm.
I mean, that's the type of
Yeah.
experience. What's not to like about socialism? Do you
Mhm,
know? Like that was my experience. And
yeah,
maybe
and
that's
and
just
that's
making me
your
sound
experience. Yeah, and that
right,
is your
right,
experience.
right. And
Yes.
I understand that's a socialist democracy. And I also understand that
Mhm,
Spain has a lot of unemployment and there are other problems that I didn't witness because I was
mhm,
there. I mean, I was working, but as an American over there. But anyway, okay.
mhm,
But that's so what so why so that's why I'm like, what don't you like about
mhm.
socialism?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
Yeah.
my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be somebody else's story to answer that question, what is not
Right.
to like. And
Exactly.
usually it is there's a lot of layers to unpeel because there's a lot of very pro capitalist, very pro very much pro right wing stories that we've been indoctrinated with as well too. I'm not
You mean
saying
like
that.
the pull yourself up from the bootstraps
Absolutely.
doctrine? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
These stories. So, so we've been, especially as Americans, we've been, very much conditioned. There's that cultural conditioning,
yeah,
to see
yeah.
anything outside of that ideology as a threat. And
Uh-huh.
that's not to say that, people at the top of the pyramid are not doing things that are, that are, corrupt, on both sides of the spectrum. But being taken care of. I mean, being provided, your safety, your physical health.
Hmm.
Obviously, that's going to be a very strong experience, and
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
that's going to inform your ideology.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, absolutely. So, let's go into your story, Andrea.
Okay.
If you want to tell the story about the Holocaust survivor, please let's do that, and then
I'll just tell
we'll
you really
do that.
quickly that
Mhm,
I was interviewing a Holocaust survivor, and it
mhm,
became very clear very quickly that she was a Trump supporter,
mhm,
and it's because she was spent her first few years of life like in hiding,
Hmm.
And then when the Jews were liberated, her parents found her again and took her to Russia. And then she said, and then communism came in and I lost my liberties again.
Hmm.
And um and then she said, then we moved to the United States, but it took years, years and years to go through the paperwork and to do
Hmm.
everything. And then so she was uncovering to me slowly that she was very afraid of communism, the way that Cubans are.
Hmm.
She's very all about following the rules, which and she was implying that there's many immigrants who have come to the United States who did not follow the rules. And then we had to learn English. And I was like, oh, because that's what, 40 years ago or 50 years ago, um, people who immigrated to the United States learned English more, or maybe they did, or maybe they didn't, but she did. And I was just like, oh my God. And then she told me that she voted for Trump. And it really was the first time I've sat like face to face with someone who told me that. And I still liked her.
Hmm.
Like my initial feeling wasn't like, you fucking asshole. Like,
Hmm.
how could you be so, no, I got it. I just understood.
Yep.
There was someone who had a point of view, a perspective and all I wanted to do was, I think she's wrong, but I don't dislike her. I really love her. I
Hmm.
felt so much love for her.
Hmm. Yeah.
So she was the reason that I started thinking about, well, one of the reasons I was like, if I can sit across from her and be as angry as I am about the current administration,
Hmm.
but love on her after learning her story,
Hmm.
then it's possible.
Yeah, so that actually is a great, way to segue into your story as well, too. What about that conversation or what about that relationship? What did you have in common with this person? What did you feel? Where were the right chords struck in her story with you?
Oh, interesting. I'm not sure
Mm.
that we have that much in I mean, I'm Jewish.
Hmm.
She's Jewish.
Hmm.
Um, One of the things that really opened my heart was that she'd never told the story before
Hmm.
in her whole life. She's like 85.
Hmm.
She
So there was
her
courage there. There was some courage and some vulnerability there, I'm sure.
she cried a bunch of times. She answered my questions without slapping me. Do you
Mm.
know, like I mean we in the moment I felt like I wasn't sure how she was perceiving me, but I know that I am curious and it can come across as nosy. I know that I'm pushy. I
Mm.
mean, I know that I'm like direct and it can come across as pushy. I
Mhm.
know all that. Look, you can see it. Um, but she was like, so I was like pulling on her to tell me the hard stuff that and I'm a storyteller, so I know that it's really hard, but so important. And so I was taking risks, and she was taking risks.
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
wasn't that this is another thing about your question that I think that it stumped me for a second because it
Mhm.
doesn't matter if we have anything in common.
Mm.
No, not at all. And I always use like the David Sedaris as an example. So what happens
Okay.
in writing class all the time
Mhm.
is someone will say, "Oh my God, yeah, that happened to me," and I shut that down so fast
Mm.
when I'm the teacher. I'm like,
Mm.
"No, no, 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 it's not relevant. We're here as editors for each other. Like one class is one person will be reading their story, and everyone will give their feedback, and we're the editors." It is
Mm.
not relevant that the exact same thing happened to you. It's
Mm.
not relevant that I was also a Holocaust survivor,
Mm.
or that anything that she said, or that my dad was demonstrative, or that my mom, none of that is relevant. What's
Mm.
relevant is that whoever I'm listening to, or if I'm the storyteller, that my story gets to the truth.
Mm.
And if it does, then there is something that will connect to anybody. If someone tells their story well enough, every story will resonate.
Mhm.
Every story is relevant.
Mhm.
And I talk about David Sedaris, who's this. Do you know who that is? He's
No,
this.
I don't. Mhm.
He's as famous writers go, he's pretty famous, but of course no one's ever heard of any famous writers except for I don't know, Joyce Carol Oates. But
Mhm.
so David Sedaris is this humorist who writes essays, and he's constantly talking about his husband Hugh, and they
Mhm.
lived in Paris, and you don't have to be a gay man who lived in Paris to connect with David Sedaris. Like nothing about him. I mean, I'm gay too, but I'm not a
Mhm.
gay man who lived in Paris. Nothing about us is similar.
Mhm.
But when he tells stories about his relationship or when he tells a story about love, it's relevant to anybody who's ever experienced love, or even if you haven't experienced love, because you can understand it because he told it that well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's getting to the truth, whatever that vulnerable truth is, that
And
has
that's
a
why,
yeah, it
and
has a
that's why I
resonance to
loved,
it.
and that's why I loved my Holocaust survivor.
Hmm.
I mean, she's a bitter, bitchy broad for good reason.
Hmm.
Like she wasn't pleasant, you know, but I loved her.
Hmm.
So
Is that lovable? Is there something about being a bitchy broad, that resonated enough that's
100%
lovable?
because she was
Yeah,
real, because
yeah,
she was telling the truth and for the first time.
yeah.
So she was crying, she was angry, she was like looking at me like I was a nosy motherfucker. I don't know, but she kept telling me,
Hmm.
and it was moving. It was really, and I've talked to her since because she knows that I'm doing all sides of the story and I
Hmm.
want her in the show.
Hmm.
And I don't know if she's going to be up for it. I don't know if she'll tell the story out loud in front of other people. Like
Hmm.
she asked me to send her a transcript so that she could show it to her kids.
Okay.
That's
Hmm.
how closeted she's been about
Hmm.
surviving the Holocaust.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, so I don't know what you were asking me.
Oh yeah, no, no, absolutely no. I'm glad that you articulated that. And so, what is your truth, Andrea? What is your story? So, what made you who you are politically? Since we're exploring that theme with all sides of the story.
That's so I did sit down and write that out
Hmm.
maybe like a month ago because I was wondering if there was a moment. In my case, I think the story is different. It's more like it's my family. It's
Hmm.
my upbringing. It's my community. My mom took my brother and me to marches on Washington. Like we marched for Soviet Jewry, we marched for abortion rights, we marched for well, I marched for gay rights, but I think
Hmm.
we marched another time. Like I was a kid going door to door for Democratic candidates.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
my mom was what was like president of the Democratic Party. She was a women's liber. Remember
Hmm.
that? That's what it was called before it was called feminist.
Hmm.
So, and my dad was always a Democrat. My uncle was a Florida representative. I've had politics like in my family and Democratic politics
Hmm.
since I was forever.
Hmm.
And so everybody that I know and love, or the people that are close to me, most close to me, that's their point of view.
Yeah.
And to step away from that would be like there's no way. And that's the weird thing about politics too. It's like I have a lot of friends now who like used to be Mormons or
Hmm.
used to be Catholic or used to be Republicans. I just it's like it's a part of my identity as much as being Jewish or a lesbian. It's just, you know, I couldn't like get rid of it. It's like look at me. Do you
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, it's
I
hard.
look like a Democratic Jewish lesbian art teacher.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and that's become part of your identity. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So, right. It's
Hmm.
become part of my identity,
Hmm.
which is kind of scary
Hmm.
because that is how nationalistic these parties are.
Yeah.
Like, you go to a football game and everybody is like going crazy for their team.
Hmm.
Why?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's that. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad example because there's, it's not as Oh, you think it's a good example?
I think it's a great example, especially living here in Philadelphia with where the people in Philadelphia are probably the most gung ho sports fans you'll ever see. So I that analogy resonated with me.
Remember when wait, what team was it where the ball was deflated?
I'm not sure. I'm not a
No, no, no,
sports
no.
fan, so
Oh my God, no, no, no. It was shoot. There was the quarterback was throwing a ball that was a little bit deflated, which made it easier to throw.
hmm
And he was busted.
hmm
And there's
I
someone
remember
in,
that story. Yeah,
and it was I wish I could remember like specific details, and I don't know football teams or whatever,
yeah, me neither.
but there's someone in my family who is a diehard fan of that team.
hmm
And that the man in my family, he like had some rationale, some
hmm
kind of okayness about
Sure.
cheating. That was cheating. Like we have to
Yeah,
be able to call out our team if our team is cheating. That is
exactly. And when you
bullshit.
have an allegiance, when you have an allegiance to a group, it's easy to kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can relax my moral values to excuse my,
No,
my
no.
tribe, so to speak. Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's tribal.
hmm
Yeah. I mean, come on. Biden should have stepped down way, yeah, way before he stepped down. And we should have had a proper primary. Like, we made so many mistakes as a
Yeah.
party.
Yeah. And of
And
course, that's where the Republicans jump on that. And yeah.
I know, but people make mistakes, but we did not admit them. We did not admit to them and we didn't rectify it. We just like the Democratic Party just like charged ahead and
hmm
I mean, there's tons of other mistakes, of course, that the Democrats have made over the years, and just disgusting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's what I want to look at.
Yeah. Very, very good. Very
So
good.
that's
So,
my story. I don't really have a specific who
yeah.
I am politically, but that's I think it's pretty deep
Mhm.
anyway, even though it's subtle.
Absolutely, and there's potential there. I'm not sure if I want to go down this bunny trail today, but at what point do you start to form an opinion about the other tribe, about the Republicans? What experiences have you seen or experienced, with that? But what I'd like to do is I'd like to segue back to this project, all sides
Mhm.
of the story. What is the highest outcome that you hope to see with this project?
Um, so I would love it if a podcast like Tangle. Have you heard of Tangle? So there's a podcast that I've been listening to it not that long, maybe like a month or so, 2 months. I've learned about it not long ago, and it's with the host is Isaac Saul, and he hits a political issue every day and shows the right and the left, and then his take.
Mhm,
And I think there's like a 400,000 people community around them. I think that's what it said on their website. And I would
mhm,
love for all sides of the story, the shows to hook into a bigger entity than me
mhm,
and go on the road and because I mean my wife she's like Andrea, this could be huge. Like you have to have a YouTube channel. You have to get it out there bigger than 600. So, so the reason why this is so interesting, but to me, not really interesting, but I used to do these live shows and
mhm,
they started in a small bookstore and there were like 65 people in the audience. I like to say that it was my mom. Well, it was my mom. I used my mom's mailing list. This was in 2005. I think when I did my first show and I sent like an invitation to my mom's mailing list, 300 people, 65-year-old Jewish ladies came
mhm,
more or less. Free bookstore. I mean, free event in a bookstore.
mhm,
And then we grew and grew and grew until we were occupying the Miracle Theater on Miracle Mile in Coral Gables, 600-seat theater. And we charged admission.
mhm,
And it was full every time. 600 people would come and pay, but it still felt small.
mhm,
It
mhm.
still felt like we were doing this amazing work, telling our souls, marrying people in the audience,
Yeah.
helping people fall in love. And and only 600 people were seeing the show at a
Mhm,
time.
mhm,
So I left. That's not the reason I left it was called Lip Service, but I
Mhm.
quit Lip Service after 9 years and I started a podcast called
Mhm.
Writing Class Radio, which I currently,
Mhm.
I'm currently co-producing. The because I wanted a bigger audience. I wanted to be able to hit more people with stories.
Mhm.
And for sure, I've hit more people. We've had 1 million downloads over the 10 years, but I don't feel it. I don't know who's listening. Like a few people email me too. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm,
it's such a it's like I'm talking to my one co-host. It doesn't feel like a connection
yeah.
the way that I like the way that stories connect.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of sick of it. And I
Mhm.
want to go back to the stage. I want to go back to live,
Mhm.
face-to-face storytelling. And that's all sides of the story. But I
Mhm.
do want the work that goes into it because it's a shit ton of work. I mean, let me just tell you that if you come to all sides of the story show, every
Mhm.
story is going to be very good because we're going
Mhm.
to work on them until they're great,
Very
or
good.
they're not going to be in the story. I mean, not going to be in the show.
Mhm.
And I'm a maniac. Like, do you want to work with me? Probably not. Based on like, maybe you do. I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of a likable person, but I am difficult. I mean, I'm strict.
Mhm.
So don't be saying anything that you didn't agree, that we didn't agree that you were going to say. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
this is not open mic night.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so I would love to have the show go on the road, but I would also love an entity, an organization, maybe a podcast network.
Mhm.
Maybe it's not Tangle, but maybe a podcast network that has a YouTube channel and these stories get put out there in a big major way.
Mhm.
I would love that.
Very good.
And there's also another organization that I've recently come across, which is called Braver Angels.
Mhm.
And their whole mission is to get people from right and left, red and blue, to come together and talk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have a similar mission.
Very good. Yeah. Let me just point out something that you had just said and ask you if this resonates. Like you said something about how you had that audience of a million, and but it doesn't feel like there was a connection. Or what you're looking for is deeper connection, Andrea. Deeper connection.
100%. Yes,
Yeah.
I want connection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
I'm a lover.
Yeah. Very good.
I
Very good.
want to feel like I want to feel what I felt talking to a Holocaust survivor.
Mhm.
I felt so connected to her.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I was just sitting there listening, I mean, and asking questions. But
Mhm.
she was the one that was like opening up to me and I felt connected.
Very good. Very good. What do you value most in people? I mean, what when you
Honesty.
connect someone, honesty. Very good.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
why I like a bitchy broad. I don't care. If
Hmm.
she's being real, yeah. It's yeah, I True Story was my match.com. That was my match.com like what's it called? Title or tagline or
Okay. Hmm.
and um and that's what I write, true stories. Like that's what I care about.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah.
kind of authenticity and vulnerability that just again has a resonance to it, where where it's not so much about appearances. It's more about getting to getting to the source, getting to the foundation of what it is that's really here, that really motivates, and that
Mhm.
really gives juice to more life,
Right.
that really brings meaning and brings more yeah, portents to life. So
What do
yeah,
you value most in a person?
I'm finding that authenticity is very important to me, because I tend to a friend of mine described herself as kind of like a dumpster diver, and in a way that's kind of where I resonated with that. That's kind of where I'm at too, because I go places where people are not really willing to go yet, and
Where? What do you mean?
yeah, suicide work, working with suicide survivors. I recently had I won't say a confrontation, but I recently had a somewhat heated conversation in the sense that I called, because I'm one myself. I've attempted suicide twice, and I said that what I do is I work with suicide survivors, and some academic in the audience said, "There's no such thing as a suicide survivor. It's like it's kind of like a murder survivor," and I just kind of backed away and just said, you know what? It's okay. You've got your interpretation. I've got mine. I often go to a Gestalt prayer where it's just like, you know what? I'm not here to live up to your expectations. You're not here to live up to mine. If we get together and see eye to eye, it's a beautiful thing. If not, it can't be helped. I'm telling you that I'm a suicide survivor, and this is my lived experience. If you're going to be a grammar Nazi on me, about that, and if you're not caring what my story is behind that, then it's just, there's nothing bad or wrong with either of us. It's just that, you're obviously not seeing what's right in front of you. So, but yeah, suicide.
I don't think it was a grammar problem at all. I
Yeah.
think that I'm very impressed with how you handle that.
Mhm.
Um, I, wow, like even to say you could have said, um, well, obviously that he has no experience because, jeez, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no,
That's
that's
maddening.
but that's kind of where what my path is as well too, because I've gone I mean, and I've worked with I've produced improv shows in the mental health community where suicide survivors tell their story, and the more they tell their story, the more courageous they are with it. And they did a whole show in front of 200, 300 people. And the only way I could get them there was telling them about my stories, about what I experienced. So that's one example of being a dumpster diver.
Love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I want to be a dumpster diver.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, there's another living library conversation that I've had with my friend Ellen from the Netherlands. I mean, right now with the with the book being released, Virginia Giuffre's memoirs, that's people are starting to look at those stories, these very graphic stories about women who've been trafficked, and I released a living library conversation where she was appealing to people. It's like, look, don't turn away. And she wrote a story called "The Story That Didn't." Dot dot dot. So implying this is the story that doesn't want to be told. So she wrote kind of like a metaphor about how there was this girl who had this story, and this story was like this weird friend, but it didn't want to be told because it was so graphic. So I
And
read.
that was about trafficking. So she
Mhm,
was raped and
mhm,
kidnapped. So
yeah,
that's different
yeah,
than suicide.
yeah.
But
This was again another example of being of dumpster
going back,
diving. I mean, we're
yeah.
talking about deep satanic abuse, ritualistic abuse.
Okay.
So I tend to go into places that people will not go, and so
Well, if
people.
you step into a writing class, you'll get that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I guess I am a dumpster diver too.
Mhm.
But uh, thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah.
That's cool
Yeah.
that you've supported people like that. And I
Yeah.
love the idea of the show.
Mhm. Yeah, that's the thing. Actually, we just got offered an opportunity to perform in New Jersey. The show, and my friend Janet did a living library conversation here as well too. Where we've been doing this show for the last 6 years called The Wizard of Is, which instead of Oz, it's is, because this is how it is, and it's about a woman who puts her feelings on trial, and we really get to the bottom of what is it that creates suicidal ideation. And in her story, we've really kind of picked up on that there's like a spiritual disconnect, and it's this, for her, I think what it is this being raised as a woman, and as a Jewish woman, this tendency to people please, always, people pleasing. And with some of the other people that I've spoke with, other women that I've talked to as well too, is there's this also this theme about people pleasing men. I'm reading Virginia Giuffre's memoirs right now, and she had completed suicide back in April. So there's this theme that's starting to come up that's very touchy, and very there's hot buttons around it, but I think there's some potential for healing conversations, especially around people pleasing between genders. So
Yeah. People pleasers. Oh, hard. So hard because they have trouble knowing their own truth.
yeah, yeah. One moment, please, Andrea. My son
Sure,
is
I hear someone.
yes.
Is there any button down shirts that we don't use anymore?
Anybody dentures that we don't use anymore?
No, no, is there any button down shirts that we don't use
Oh, button down
anymore?
shirts anymore? That's your size?
Yeah, but that we don't use anymore.
I don't think so, but we'll take a look for that
No,
in about
like not
5 minutes.
size. It doesn't have to be my size.
Okay. Yeah, I have a few. So I'll look for those in just a few minutes. Okay, bud. He's
Costume?
yeah, he's going to be the Joker tonight, and he has a purple suit, and I guess he's
Now he
asking
needs
for
a
another.
button down. I
Yeah.
thought he was asking for dentures too.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so we're almost at the hour here, Andrea. So see how fast it goes
Dang, you're right.
when you're in that Kairos time. But no, but thank you. Thank you so much for this time together. When I conclude these conversations, I usually ask two questions. The first question is, what did you appreciate about this conversation today? What did you appreciate most about what came up, or what was what came up for you during this conversation with me today?
Well, two things come to mind. Like I really do appreciate someone asking me about me. Like I
Mhm,
do. I love to get to, you know, just think about how I feel and tell someone, connect.
mhm,
So thank you. I really appreciate that connection. The other thing I so appreciate is how you asked what the grand vision for all sides of the story could be.
mhm,
Because I mean, I don't know if I'm a huge believer in put it out there and it'll come, but like if you don't put it out there and you don't think about it or articulate what your vision is, then
mhm.
certainly it won't come. So thanks.
Yeah,
That
you're
was
welcome.
cool. That was cool.
Yeah, that's what we call starting the beginning of what we call a possibility conversation. So these living library conversations, they're what we call appreciation conversations, where the reader, my role as the reader, is just to reflect back, what I heard, what resonates, ask clarifying questions, so that that vision, becomes clearer, and then we go into what's called a possibility conversation. Excuse me, Micah, can you close the door, please? When it comes, what happens as it progresses into a possibility conversation, where we ask about, what is the highest possibility that you see for this, and then we ask even deeper questions about that. What does that make possible? And then we start to ground it by asking questions like, well, what is it going to take to do that? And then what is it going to take to do that? So
Awesome.
that's kind of how this cycle progresses. There's 6 conversations, but I often say in these conversations, you can spend hours and hours just in appreciation. And that's enough to kind of create new infrastructures for economy, for governance, and all of that. So it's very, very important not to rush the appreciation and the possibility. And then you go into invitation and dissent and all of that, where you create safe spaces where it's okay to express, where is the no, where is it not feeling right yet, and then
Okay.
coming up with new invitations. So yeah, and then the second question I ask, yes,
I
Micah.
think you're gonna have to get that button down.
Till you find the button down.
I will, Micah. I'm almost finished. We have about 5 more minutes left in our conversation.
Happy
and
Halloween.
and honestly, this happens quite a bit, Andrea, where for the most part, I'm a stay-at-home dad. My wife is an art therapist and a social worker.
Hi. Oh, he came.
So yeah, why
Hi.
don't you pop in here, Micah? You can say hi. So this is my reality as well too, because I'm still working
So
on
cute.
on
Why
being
am I
able
disappearing?
to do stuff like
Why am
this
I disappearing?
and be able to afford babysitter and be able to afford, someone to watch my
Look,
kids.
he's
But
disappearing. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I
but
understand.
at the moment, this is me. This is who I am.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask one more question. Okay, and what are
Daddy.
you most curious about exploring now? If this conversation is a
Daddy.
if this conversation is a catalyst for what's next, what are you most curious
Daddy,
about
I wanna
exploring? And
tell
I'm going to
you
put myself on
something.
mute while you respond.
Um, oh my God, I love you. Hi, I love Micah. So cute. What do I want to explore more? Um,
Or go deeper. What would you like to go deeper with exploring?
um, I
I'm not.
so I'm just only thinking in terms of like the practical more, like getting more stories, getting connected to the other side that isn't my side. So that's the part that I've been having a problem. Not a problem. I've gotten a few, but since I don't have as much access to people on the right, I want to connect bigger and better. Like I don't know, attend a church or something. I don't know what to do. I'm thinking it out. But I think that your question is more emotional or spiritual. And I'm sorry, I'm failing at that answer. I don't know.
No,
But
not at all. Not at all. No, that's a very valid answer. And it kind of
okay.
ties into, some of the things that I'm looking for as well, too. It's very easy for me to have conversations with centrists and those, on the left. It's more difficult to have conversations on the right. And, because of some of the explorations I'm doing with spirituality and religion, there are resources that the right can also tap into as far as mental health care, as far as economic development. And, so it's very important to have the conversation where all sides are represented. So as
So
I'm,
you do have access to people on the right? Or
I do, but
okay.
it's more difficult to have
Yeah.
conversation about it.
Yeah.
And I think you're really onto something where if you're there to listen or others are there to listen and listen for the common, what I think of as the common ground, then it makes it easier for those conversations to open up. And as
Yeah.
in my ministry, I'm very interested in bringing both sides of the table, to talk about
So
what
cool.
what is most important. I think that's what the question is really. What is most important first to the individual, and then listening for that. So Andrea, I'm going to invite others to contact you if that is okay. So I'll put your
Sure.
your site up and on the page that this conversation is
So I
presented.
have my own website and writing class radio,
Okay,
andreaaskowitz.com and writingclassradio.com.
very good, excellent.
Mike, have fun
It's like
tonight.
I'm burning.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like you're burning in there. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
on fire. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Andrea.